minutes in. Carry On Alice breaks their hearts again.
Pulling clear in the closing stages. Smart Call wins the Jambi Mid. And Smart Call comes home to win it in the main Chance Farms Paddock Stakes.
Welcome to this special edition of Breeding to Win. We are lucky enough to be here at Vasco da Gama restaurant, and we're going to be talking about the TBA sale, which is coming up at the end of the week on 17th and 18th of August at the Germiston TBA Sales Complex. It's a big catalogue, 474 horses catalogued, 42 vendors, and who better to chat with me about the catalogue is Director of Green Street Bloodstock, Justin Veermark. Justin, huge catalogue. Firstly, before we go through the vendors, your opinion on the catalogue in general?
Yeah, I think it's very good, Fee. There's a lot of very strong female lines and some very good stallions represented as well. So we know what the market's been like this year, and I think the buyers should be getting down to the TBA complex because there's going to be some nice horses available at buyers' prices.
I think so too, and chatting to some of the trainers, they're very excited. It's a good catalogue, proven sires, and it really does look like a buyer's market. So let's start with the Alchemy. I see they've got a nice Jackson filly.
Yes, the Alchemy, just firstly touching on the farm, obviously run by Philip Kahan. They've been phenomenal breeders over a long period of time, breeding horses like Triple Crown winner Louis the King and the likes. And yeah, as you touched on, very nice Jackson filly there. She's obviously a sister to the very well-performed Wolgerine, who won a stakes race this season. So good female line there, and obviously Jackson's been a very interesting sire to watch this season. He's had his first couple of horses at the sales, and they've been very well received, and it'll be interesting to see how they go as two-year-olds in this new season now. So a nice draft from Philip's farm again. Also interesting type of horse, lot 232 is an Irish Flame filly. Now he's had a couple of winners, and he was represented by Just My Style, who performed in a Group 1 on July Day, and this filly is a sister to Linkman, who was a champion two-year-old colt of his crop as well. So nice bunch of horses, and Elusive Fort is a stallion who's done very well with his fillies, and Philip brings a horse to this sale who's by Elusive Fort out of a Danehill mare called Bellhouse, who's already produced Feel My Love, who was a stakes winner, and could be an interesting page for a prospective breeder, because it's the family of Secret of Victoria and Bella Bella, which is probably the best the best female line in the country at the moment, and a few fillies higher up the page which will go to stud and produce. I know Feel My Love has been to some nice stallions, and she's going to get every chance to make that pedigree a bit thicker as well. So an interesting draft from Philip, and we'll definitely be stopping over to have a look at them.
Yeah, he certainly turns out a good draft. They always look pretty special. Let's move on to Andalusia stud. They've got 6 going. I see we've got a Byworld, 3 laterals, and 2 Dualis.
Yeah, Lateral is a sire that I've had quite good success with. I like him. I think he's capable of producing some, not just bread and butter horses, but talented horses as well. He did so in his first crop with the likes of his Group 1 winner, Bilateral, and Unparalleled was in that crop as well. And there are 3 laterals in this draft, 2 of them out of 5-time winning mares and 1 out of a 4-time winning mare. So, you know, those will be horses worth looking at, and hard to see. You know, it's not very commercial lateral at the moment, so also could be horses that can be bought, and they're very workmanlike, what we call trainers horses. They stay sound and they run, so it'll be interesting to have a look at those guys.
Ascot Stud have got a pretty impressive bunch, 25 going, plenty of bold Savannahs there.
Yes, yeah, Ashley Parker obviously runs Ascot Stud, and they had a phenomenal season again this season. They were right at the top of the table in terms of stakes winners to runners. They had a very, very good strike rate. So Bold Silvano, obviously, as you touched on, he stands the horse there, and he has a lot of horses, a lot of progeny with this draft. And he's an interesting stallion. It's still early days for him, but he's done fairly well. He's got that horse Bold Respect, who is very highly rated and won that sales race as well. So lot 111 by Bold Silvano is out of Princess Magdalena, who's obviously the dam of Search Party, who was just recently crowned the Cape Sprinter of the Year for his efforts this season. And there's some very, very good female lines, also Bold Silvano horses here. If we look at lot 182, out of Splendid Red. Now, she was a stakes-winning filly out of the fantastic Rudra, Narnia, Red Ray, Brutal Force female line. So that's a very well-bred horse. And then also an interesting nick on lot 136. Bold Silvano is obviously a replication of the very successful Silvano Al Mufti cross. And this mare that Bold Silvano's covered, Royal Splendor, she got black type. She's by Al Mufti. And I'd definitely include lot 228 as well. Another Bold Silvano onto an Al Mufti mare. She's produced Lightning Lecture and Welsh Emperor, and then one of her daughters, Pagan Dance, is the mother of Edict of Nantes, who's obviously got a good couple of awards at the Cape Awards as well. So very strong draft, which we come to expect from Ashley Parker and Ascot Stud, and I'm sure they'll have a very successful sale.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks pretty impressive. And at Birch Brothers, they seem to be, they've been going around for many years. They've got a nice Black Menalouche, a sale from Seattle, Ideal World, and Main Aim.
Yes, the Birch family, very, very well known in the breeding circles. They've been around the South African breeding scene for a long, long time. And yeah, you touched on the Black Menalouche there, lot 161, out of a rich man's gold mare called Seven Veils, who produced Sniper Shot. Now, he's a pretty good son of Judpot, who ran a place in one of these sales feature races up in Durban this season. He looks like a progressive horse for the 3-year-old season this year. And obviously, we know Black Menalouche, he doesn't get a lot of mares these days, but you know, he throws big performers constantly all the time despite his small numbers. Louis the King and Ash Cloud obviously did the Derby and Oaks Double not too long ago. And he had Arabian Beat the year after that as well. And we see that very good performer, Black Cat Black, in Cape Town at the moment. So, yeah, good stallion. He's capable of throwing a good horse. And 4 horses there, they definitely worth having a look.
And Bush Hill Stud are sending out 12. I see they've got a Give Me the Green Light filly. Give Me the Green Light's been so popular at the sales. Yeah,
absolutely. Obviously, Bush Hill Stud down in Moy River, very well-known establishment. They breed very good horses. And Give Me the Green Light, his success has been phenomenal in his first couple of years with runners on the ground. Be worth having a look at that filly out of an Australian mare. And there's an interesting stallion there called Redout's Promise. He was unraced due to injury, but he's by Redout's Choice, who's one of the best stallions in the world. Out of that mare Perfect Promise, who was a South African race mare and went to win a group race overseas. She being the sister to Iridescence, who also went to win a Group 1 overseas. A very, very well-bred horse. Obviously, we don't know what his racing ability was like because it was cut short due to injury, his career. But he sold one filly out of Paint the Town at the KZN sales for a decent amount of money, and she was a very, very nice-looking horse. So it's worth going to look at these, the progeny by Redout's Promise. And then obviously lot 18 being by Curved Ball. Look Sharp is one of the better mares, more successful mares, I think, at Bush Hill. Produced Lieutenant Jerry Mouse and the Musketeer. That's a good family that's worth taking a look at as well.
And they've got a Visionaire. Now, Visionaire now stands at Lammaskrel, but there's lots of excitement around for Visionaire.
Yeah, he's done very well. You see him featuring in the ready-to-run races and those sale races with a lot of progeny, and he's done very well. Obviously, now he's come down to Lammaskrel. He's going to be getting some of their top mares, which are some of the best families in the SA stud book. So I think Visionaire will be a stallion on the up.
Now, Cheveley Stud's only sending out 5, but there's no doubt about it. Vaughan Costa will have a pretty impressive 5 going, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we know Cheveley Stud very well. They bred Bella Bella, and they have some phenomenal female lines there. And, you know, lot 305 is one that stood out for me. Mumbo in Seattle's having a very good run at the moment and producing some good group horses. This mare is by Fort Wood. She ran 3rd in a feature race, so she got her black type. And it's from a good solid female line as well. So produced a 5-time winner by Argonaut in the form of Beluga. And that's one I think that looks like a standout on paper. There's a Master of My Fate colt going there and a Windrush filly, and Windrush has done phenomenally well with his fillies. And that mare Lindy with the Poets out of a very quick female line as well. So interesting mix of horses, and definitely worth having a look at that draft of Vaughan Costas.
And then we've got Clifton Stud, 8 going from Clifton Stud. They've also got a Gray's Inn, who's obviously been quite popular in the past.
Yes, very good farm. Also KZN based, Peter Blythe, and we know Mr. Peter White has a couple of mares there as well. So they do produce very nice horses, and interesting mix. Also a Crusade on the draft, and Noble Tune. There's a Noble Tune filly, lot 17. He's sold his first horses, a new KZN based Son of Unbridled Song. He sold his first yearlings this year, and they'll be 2-year-olds. Very interesting to see how they run, because there's been a lot of talk about the stallion's progeny, and this one is backed up with a pretty decent imported female line as well. So nice type of draft from Clifton Stud, and we'll be having a look, especially at that Gray's Inn, which you've pointed out, because the mare Glorious Fair comes from a fantastic female line.
And then Digby Stud, they've just got 2, but Twice Over is sort of talk of the town, isn't he? Yeah,
he's obviously with Sand and Sea, who was also an award recipient at the breeders part of the awards that we've just held, and he could be anything, that horse. I think he's one of the horses that will be coming down in Dennis Dreyer's armory for the Cape season, and a possible Guineas favourite. Yeah, it's very encouraging for Twice Over and people that are involved with the stallion, because his progeny should get better the older they get. This horse named Twice a Charmer from the stud is out of Silvano mare as well, an unraced Silvano mare. So that's definitely one that will be worth taking a look at. And they breed a good horse down there. I know in my main chance days we bought Gallica Rose from them, who was a multiple group winner. So 2 horses worth going to have a look at.
Absolutely. And Dr. Ian Haynes, he's got 4 colts, and they look pretty well bred too, 2 philanthropists.
Yeah, Ian Haynes, he's a very good breeder. He always goes to good stallions. And he keeps some very well-bred mares there. He bred the horse Seal as well, who won the Derby. He was by Silvano. And you can see here he's got a couple of philanthropists and a Kirari on the draft as well. So not the biggest draft. Obviously, I think he sold the bulk of his horses earlier in the year. We must bear in mind it's August, and you know, these are the late comers to the sale. But definitely a breeder who knows how to breed a good horse, and it's not too hard to buy from him. So worth taking a look.
And a very exciting 4 from Drakenstein. Say no more, really. Horse Chestnut, Philanthropist, Duke of Marmalade. Give me the green light.
Yeah,
all
nice
the top
small
names.
draft, but as we've come to expect from Drakenstein, who I said a couple of years ago, I thought they'd be a force to be reckoned with in the breeding game in the next coming years, because they've really been buying into fantastic fillies and very well performed race fillies on the track, and they've got a phenomenal bunch of stallions, which we see at their Stallion Day. And you know, we've got to give me the green light here out of a Danehill Dancer mare. She's the mother of Dawn Calling, who's been a very, very well performed filly based down in KZN. So another good draft from them, and there's a Duke of Marmalade filly there as well, who will have his first runners. Obviously, as 2-year-olds, we probably expect to see Duke of Marmalades come later as classic horses. But he'll have his first runners come in this coming season. But definitely a stallion who's done it all over the world. We saw Big Orange pull off another huge win in the UK not too long ago. So we'll be having a look at that Duke of Marmalade, and it'll be exciting to see how the progeny race in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting stuff for South Africa. Gary Player, he always sends some nice horses to the sale and does well with them. He's got 10 going. A Nordic Flyer filly, Judd Pot, quite a mixture here. Mambo in Seattle, Byworld, What a Winter, Pomodora, Master of My Fate. A nice bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a bunch of these Karoo breeders coming up in the next couple of drafts, and they breed a really strong horse down there. And I like the look of lot 74. Sale from Seattle is obviously a sire who's done very well, but he passed and he's thrown Group 1 winners since, which is something that seems to happen. We just saw Sail South upset Captain America, a stable companion in the Champions Cup, the last Group 1 for the older horses in Natal. And this lot 74 out of a Fort Wood mare, a fantastic female line. She's a daughter of Thousand Knights who produced Highland Knight and Warm White Knight, who one won 2 Gold Cups and the other was a champion sprinter. So a very good female line, and that's a horse that's going to be worth looking at. And then obviously lot 245 is a standout as well. The Trippy out of Wonderful World, who's a Group 1 winner, and she produced Shava Deura and a bunch of very good performers. So a couple of nice horses on that draft, and it'll be interesting to see what they look like at the sales.
Yeah, and he always turns them out very nicely. Now let's move on to Gelkfontein Stud, the Karoo breeders. We're looking at 5 going: Pathfork, Main Aim, Nordic Flyer, Sail from Seattle, and another Pathfork.
Yeah, the one that stands out there for me is lot 272, who's another sale from Seattle, after we've just touched on one. Altazar is a Western Winter mare. She's a daughter of Jessamine, who was a champion brood mare. She obviously produced the Sheikh and Al Nitak and the likes. And she had a decent filly called Adhira, so this is the half-sister to Adhira, by Sale from Seattle. She was a decent filly, but she had a couple of injuries, and that curtailed her career. But she had the ability to be a black type performer, probably. And I think that's the pedigree that stands out from that draft.
Now, just a small farm, a Hadlow Stud from Moy River. They've got 2 going.
Yeah, Jonathan and Kathy Martin, they're based down in Moy River, and they definitely breed nice horses. I bought one from them last year, which has done pretty well for us. Just the 2 horses on the draft, obviously the son of Giants Causeway, Eightfold Path, who's out of a champion race mare as well. He'll have his first runners this season. And then Irish Flame we touched on a bit earlier, but they lovely breeders, lovely people to buy horses from, so worth taking a look at there too. And you never know, there are 2 fillies there that might be worth buying.
And Moy River, they make the horses quite hardy there.
Yeah, absolutely, a beautiful part of the world.
Now moving on to Hermanus, the breeders, Hemel and Ardi Stud. We've got 7 going from there. A couple of nice Water Winters, three nice Water Winters actually. A Bold Silvano and a Patala Palace and an Oratorio.
Yeah, a nice draft from Hemel and Ardi. They've got quite a few as agent as well, with a lot of Velados and Gitano and Nando's represented there. But yeah, I like the look of lot 306. Many years ago, when I was an assistant trainer, I worked with this mare, Cast a Spell, so I've always kept a close eye on her and thought she could have been a very good brood mare. And she produced Little Genie, who was by Judd Pot. Her career was shortened due to injury, but she was a filly who had Group 1 ability. She upset Carry On Alice in a Pinnacle Stakes once at Turfentine, and then she ran her next start in Cape Town, where she finished at the back of the field, and I think she retired after that. And Nyala, Ollivander, No Slouches, and then Luna Child, the ideal world half-sister to this filly, was a winner early as a 2-year-old now this season in KZN, and she looks like she's got a lot of ability. So this is another Bold Silvano, and the name Magic Wand is quite well named, so that's one that sticks out for me there. As you say, What a Winter, he received the Freshman Award at the Our Cape Awards. Done fantastically well, the sire of Dutch Philip, and obviously the very talented filly as well, Magical Wonderland. So the sky's the limit, it looks like, for What a Winter, and he's represented here quite strongly at the Hemel and Ardi draft. So definitely a bunch of horses worth having a good look at.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're quite right with the ones they're selling as agent. It's actually 17 in total. And Gitana Hernando had a nice winner on Tuesday. Yes,
absolutely, and he's also the sire of Who's That Girl, who did very well in the Fillies Winter Series down here in the Cape in the winter season. So a stallion who could be on the up, and he can produce a good horse, as he's proven with Who's That Girl. So a nice sized bunch of horses and some good pedigrees as well.
And another Gitano Hernando from Henham Stud in the next draft.
Yes, that's out of a filly called Wild Oak, who produced a nice horse which was renamed to Trini's Collateral. She won a good couple of races. She was a high-rated filly. I think she was up in the 90s. So that's definitely one worth looking at. We've got another lateral there as well, and another one of these Karoo breeders who brings nice, tough, correct horses to the sale. So worth having a look at that draft.
Absolutely. Then we've got Heversham Park Farm. I picked out a Duke of Marmalade and Horse Chestnut there. They've got 8 going.
Yeah, Heversham Park is a relatively new operation. They've just got the son of Duke of Marmalade that retired, called Mufid. He's going to stand there. And yeah, there's quite a few of these fillies that they're bringing here are very well bred. The one that sticks out to me, lot 347, is by Barword, who's been relocated to Maritzburg, obviously. But what a fantastic female line. The mare Derry Wood is by Fort Wood. She produced Royal Vintage and Aldery, who won the Charity Mile Handicap. And obviously Aldery has gone on to produce Al Sahem, who's a Group 1 winning 3-year-old this season, and just got beaten in the Vodacom Durban July this year. So the daughters of Derry Wood are producing. Turs has also produced Good Time Gal. So a very good family, good female line, and it'll be interesting to have a look at that Byword. He's going to have his runners this season as well. And obviously an Oratorio on the draft, which is they're always worth looking at. He's had Group 1 winners all over the world, and there's absolutely no reason why he won't do it in South Africa. He's had a good start with Ancestry and a good couple of other horses as well that look like they'll be very strong this season as 3-year-olds. And lot 282 is out of a Tiger Ridge mare who's a daughter of Cape Badger. It's an old Oppenheimer Maritzfontein stud female line, and constantly throwing black type horses.
And Highland Stud, they've had a good season with sales so far this year, and they're sending out a very nice bunch, mainly Potala Palace, Philanthropist, Pathforks, but they look strong, don't they?
Yeah, and obviously some of the best female lines in the country, and yeah, they hold, you know, they obviously sold Jackson here, who's probably the best graduate of the National 2-year-old sale. So that's an honour that they hold, and a good couple of Potala Palaces here. He's by Singspiel. We've seen another son of his lateral sire, Group 1 winners and Group 1 horses, group performers anyway in South Africa. A very, very good international sire, and it'll be interesting to see how his babies go. They've had a mixed reaction in the market, but naturally with first season sires, that's something you expect. So it'll be interesting to see how they run. And good female lines, some decent stallions, and once again Highlands Farm, you don't need to say much more. They produce very good horses, and I think we can expect to see a nice bunch there.
Now Klipdrift, they've got 39 going, all very well bred. We've got some great stallions, and the almighty Var is amongst them.
Yeah, Klipdrift, they don't need much introduction. They stood the mighty Jetmaster, and they have Elusive Fort there now. And a lot of people bought some very, very nice mares at the farm. There's a Judpot colt, the first in their draft, lot 11, is out of one of the good female lines that are constantly shown at sales from them. She's this colt called First Call is out of Leading Dame, which is the family of Lazar and Tallahatchie and the like. Solid Speed, a very, very good female line with lots of black type in every dam. And geez, it doesn't end there. As you touched on, 29 horses. There's lot 295. Named Sir Reginald, looks like a horse who could be a potential sales topper on his pedigree. He's by Trippy, out of the mare Boston Party, who produced Solid Speed, a very talented horse. And yeah, also same female line back to Lazar and Lake Arthur as well. So very, very nice looking pedigree, and as I say, could be, that's the type of horse when you look at the catalogue and you go, this could be a sales topper if the specimen is right. And then right at the back, their last two also pricked my ears, lot 472 and 473. 472 is a Judpot out of Kiss and Ride, and it's actually pretty much exactly the same female line, the whole Kiss family, one being by Dynasty and the other by Judpot. So very, very nice pedigrees, and they bring very nice horses to the sales, and I think they'll have a good sale.
And then we've got Le Bergstad, they're sending 10. Also some beautifully bred horses there.
Yes, Le Bergstad runs next to Klavervlei. They're the neighbours of Klavervlei, so they're a farm that have been bringing you know, high quality drafts to all the sales that they've been attending the last couple of years, and they have a Judpot filly out of a Westman mare who got black type that looked from the family of Model Man. So well-bred filly there, a whole bunch of good horses. They always go to good stallions, and they sell pretty well, but they do breed very nice horses, and there's twice overs here, Duke of Marmalades as well. So as I touched on, a farm that's been growing in stature, and I'm sure they'll be producing good racehorses on the racetrack.
Well, you all know all about Main Chance Farms, having been in charge there for some while. Silvana's still going strong.
Yeah, he's still going strong. He's getting on in age, obviously, and I think his numbers are being limited. But he broke all the records again this year. He is champion sire, and he'll be crowned at the Equus Awards next week. But in my opinion, this is probably the strongest main chance draft on paper that they've had in the last 12 months. There are brothers to Punta Arenas, to Talina, and there's a Silvano Colt Lot 178 out of Soma Martian, who's the mother of Soma Lead, and she's a very, very talented daughter of VAR. She's one of the better sprinters in Natal. She beat Brutal Force the other day at Scottsville, and she'll come down to Cape Town, and I'm sure she's got some group wins in her. She's very, very talented. And then also a horse, Lot 1, is a horse that I particularly like the look of the mating, because the mare La Kalima is exceptionally well bred, and she's had a tendency to throw quite heavy course horses, and I think Kirari is the perfect mating for her. And in fact, she's a full sister to La Colossa, who is trained by Chesney van Zyl in Johannesburg, and she broke her maiden at only her second start as a 2-year-old. So I think that's a very good cross, a very good mating for that particular mare, and that'll be a horse that's worth looking at. But all in all, a very, very strong draft, as I touched on, brothers to Group 1 horses. And there's even a son of Maxios who's owned by Andreas's farm in Germany, and that'll be the first and only one in South Africa at the moment, that's for sure. But he's a very well-bred horse who won 2 Group 1s in France, and it'll be interesting to see what that horse called Oak Bay looks like.
Now, Maurits Fontaine, they're flying, aren't they? Having won this year's July, and sending out a very nice bunch of 12 here.
Yes, and they stand Ideal World, obviously, who had a first and second in the Gold Cup. They go a trip, and when they do, they stay very, very well, the Ideal World. So he's having a good run, and he deserves it. Very well-bred horse, and we see so many Maurits Fontaine and Wilgeborgsdrift families in all these pages. They have some very, very strong female lines, and they're represented by a nice dynasty called Charlotte 145, who's out of a Danehill dancer mare called Sagrada. She's a daughter of Igreja, who was a very, very talented filly. She raced and won some big group races down here in the Cape. And then another interesting horse, I think, is Lot 314, son of VAR, out of Cherry on the Cake. Obviously that Cherry family is very well represented for Maurits Fontaine. Cherry on the top, and Cherry on the Cake herself, who was a 7-time winner and a stakes winner of the Jacaranda handicap. And there's just so many. Lot 222 is an Ideal World, daughter of from Variety, very, very smart looking pedigree, and a daughter of Maniela, who was a champion older female stayer, and she herself won 3 races Variety. So very good female lines from the draft, and I think we can expect to see their breeding of group winners continue from this draft.
Yeah, and now Jan Mantell, Millstream Farm. It's got 5 going, 3, 4 fillies and a colt.
Yes, represented by a mix of stallions, which is good to see. Mambo and Seattle we've touched on a good couple times, and Lot 19 is out of a Captain Al mare, so that is the same cross that produced same jurisdiction. And I think Mambo and Seattle's best performers seem to come with Al Mufti on the dam side. And you know, this mare, Look to the South, has already produced Flanders, who won listed race in Zimbabwe, the champion juvenile, who was by Gimme the Green Light. And a nice mixture. Once again, another Kirari there, and then a horse chestnut out of the mare In Excess, who's from Brazil, a very strong Brazilian female line. So a nice mix of horses, and Jan takes his horses to the sales, always looking good, and we'll definitely be going to have a look at those 5.
Mouton Shook, doing very well, aren't they, Mouton Shook? 28 going to the sale. Again, another great mixture of top stallions.
Yes, and they've just brought Colin Gordon on board as the racing and marketing manager. And it's a farm that Chris Gerber has invested heavily in, and it's great to see. They've got a whole bunch of horses here as well. And they're bringing in the United States now, who's a Group 1 winning son of Galileo. They've got Admiral Kitten, who's by Kitten's Joy, who's just a phenomenal sire in America. And they obviously have Marchfield, who's had his first crop run this year. He's in and amongst the winners, and they're progeny that are going to appreciate running at 3 and 4. So there's a lot of improvement to come from those horses. And then we've touched on Mambo in Seattle a few times. He's having a phenomenal run. He's produced Group 1 performers in all of his crops, and he's represented by another very well-bred daughter here in Lot 186. You know, his fillies have been running. This is, as I touched on earlier, the Al Mufti mare cross onto Mambo in Seattle. This one from that very good Mocha family of Mocha Java and Mochaccino. Summer she didn't place herself, but she's produced horses that have won multiple races, and with that very highly successful cross of Mambo in Seattle onto Al Mufti, there could be something from you know, something to look at with that filly. And then a definite standout is definitely lot 267, who's a trippy out of the mare Alinga. And there was a very nice brother on this particular sale last year, the full brother, and he came out to win a very impressive race, first time out, Broadway Trip. He'll be one of the favourites for the 2-year-old sales race on the weekend, and yeah, obviously this being a full brother, stakes winning mare, Trippy the sire, I think that's a potential sales topper as well, depending on the specimen.
And next up is Narrow Creek Stud, a Pomodoro, 2 Jacksons and a 7th Rock.
Yeah, John Everett has taken a few drafts to the sales this year, and he does very well for himself and his clients that board mares there. They get very good prices. They sold a very expensive Captainel at the Book One sale in January, and he does very well. He's a good breeder who's gone on his own and produces very smart horses. He's shrewd when it comes to using his sires, so he supported Jackson. He sold a good couple of them, and we've got 2 of his 4 here that are by Jackson, and then 7th Rock, who's obviously got that filly Rocking Russian, who was very close to winning a Group 1, another Group 1 winner for 7th Rock as a 2-year-old she would have been, but she managed to run a place. And then obviously Pomodoro, it's still early days, and he's got his 2-year-olds to run this year, but you can expect to see nice horses from John's draft.
Now Johan Loftus, Nadora Stud, 9 going. What have we got? A Twice Over, which looks quite exciting. Sale from Seattle, Philanthropist, Horse Chestnut. Quite a nice bunch. Windrush.
Yeah, I think you touched on that Twice Over. That probably looks like the standout on the paper of that draft, lot 39. And you know, the mother is a sister to Well Witcher, who we saw perform at the highest level here in South Africa for a good few seasons. She was by Oasis Dream. That looks like the standout on paper, and I think a lot of breeders will be going to have a look at her.
Barbara from Oldlands, she's got a nice bunch going. She's got some Ashawis and a nice Var.
Yeah, very, very good breeders. They bred Sanshawis, who raced with a distinction in Dubai and did very, very well. Also with the son of Kirari, Kangaroo Jack, who was a very good performer in the Halfveld. And the standout lot is a filly for me, on paper anyway, lot 58. She is by Var, who's sold some very expensive fillies this season, and obviously the sire of Purple Diamond, he's having a good run again, a very good sire of multiple Group 1 winners. This filly is from the Dacia Requista female line that has Captain America, Aquitaine and the likes. A very good female line that produces black type winners at every dam, and the mare has produced 4 winners already and a 4-time winner by Tiger Dance, so I think going to Var, this could be an interesting filly to have a look at.
Let's move on to Pecan Hill Stud, 6 going. Patala Palace, Water Winter, Pathfork, Pomodoro and another Ashawis.
Yeah, a nice mix, mainly fillies, obviously 5 of the 6 being fillies. We see Patala Palace featuring again, the son of Singspiel, and then Water Winter. So a nice mix of stallions, represented by an Oshawi's filly as well. He's a sire who hasn't got the biggest of numbers in recent years, but he can produce very good horses. We touched on Sanshawis that was bred by Oldland Stud in Dubai. He was a son of Ashawi. So a nice mix of horses, and 5 fillies, as I touched on, definitely worth going to the draft to have a look.
And Piemonte Stud, 18 going. Quite a mixture there. Await the Dawn,
yes,
Reduced
Piemonte
Promise.
Stud, the Scribontes farm, they've really grown in size. They had a big draft at the KZN sale. They've got a nice sized draft here as well. Some well-bred horses. We touched on Reduced Promise, the Reduced Choice out of Perfect Promise. There's a couple represented here as well. I like the look of lot 242, who's out of the mare Wishful Eye, who was a very good racehorse. She was lightning quick. And there's a Var, lot 104, out of the mare Plush, which looks like one of the standouts on paper, and she's a daughter of Velvet Green, who was a winner of the Garden Province Stakes and the Mallorca Stakes, which was then a Group 2. Now she'd be a multiple Group 1 winner, but she was a fantastic race filly, and she produced the then most expensive yearling ever sold in South Africa, Wonderlawn, and he went to race with distinction in Dubai as well. So being a filly, I think there'll be a couple of breeders looking at that filly, and with an exceptional pedigree like that. And I think a couple of breeders will be walking down to Piemonte Stud to look at those.
Absolutely. And Riverton Stud, only got the 1 going, but Duncan Barry knows what he's doing, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And this one happens to be the the Mambo in Seattle's sister to El Mariachi, who's performed with such distinction in KZN this season. He's looking like a real good horse in the making, and once again this is a Captain Al mare, so I think people are cottoning on to the fact that Mambo is doing very well with Al Mufti and Captain Al mares, and they've gone and sent him, and she's produced, Senorita Rel's produced this filly. So very interesting to see what she looks like. You might expect her to have a little bit more scope than El Mariachi, who's being by Great Britain, and her being by Mambo in Seattle, but nice filly, and as you say, Duncan Barry, an exceptional breeder. He's never big in numbers at the sales, but producing Group 1 horses year in and year out.
He's got the quality. Rosedene, they've got plenty of their own greys in, mixed up with the Apache, Elusive Fort, Pathfork and Tiger Dance.
Yeah, Graham Costa's farm. They're the home of Grayson, as you touched on, who's the sire of Legal Eagle and King of Pain as well. So he's done well. A lot of greys in there. I particularly like the look of lot 37 and lot 38. Lot 37 is the Apache. He's a son of Magok, obviously, who raced very, very well overseas, and he had his first yearlings at the sales this year, and comes from a very good female line, lot 37, with Divine Jury, Red Carpet Captain, Nebula and Marshall Eagle, and then lot 38 being a Grayson out of the Indigo Magic mare, closely related to Countess Corley and Biarritz, as well as Comtesse Dubois. So very good families, and Graham Costa definitely brings lovely horses to the sales. So a nice size draft, and there'll be some gems in there.
Lovely draft from Sandown stud James Armitage, got 6, but twice over Philanthropist, got a Waterwinter, Jackson, looks good.
Yeah, and the Armitage is obviously a family from Zim, you know, long racing breeding family, and James does a phenomenal job down here with horses he produced. He bred the likes of French Navy, and always comes with a strong draft. Looking at horses on paper here, lot 450 out of Inuit Women is a very, very good female line, a colt by Philanthropist. I think that's one of the standouts on paper on his draft. And then also another horse that he brings as agent here, lot 169 out of the Silvano mare Silver Cord. This is a Waterwinter, which we've touched on with his success in the past season numerous times already, but this is from one of the more alive families in the South African stud book at the moment, Consensual, who's producing. She's produced Just Sensual and obviously Give Me 5, Attenborough. A lot of daughters and a lot of fillies out of that female line are producing, and there's no reason why Silver Cord, being by Silvano, can't do the same. So what a winter colt there, and he's going to be worth having a look at, and they're definitely horses that are worth buying every draft he brings to the sale.
Yeah, very attractive bunch. Now let's move on to Robin Scott Brothers, 26 going. He's certainly got a mixture of top breeding here.
Yeah, another big draft from them. They sell very well, breed good horses. Obviously, they've stood Magok for a long time, who's done a very, very good job for them. And I like the look of this lot number 5 on paper, out of Lady Carolotti. She's by Southern Halo, so it's an Argentinian South American family. And we know the horse Caracola, he raced for James Drew and Partners a long time ago. He got exported to Hong Kong. Very good horse. He's in this family. So that one stands out. And then obviously lot 184, another 8-fold path out of Sugar Magnolia, who's closely related to the Apache. So those look like standouts, and a big draft, so worth having a look at.
Absolutely. Now Southford Stud, they have 10 going, and they've got some main names: A Lateral, Master of My Fate, Nordic Flyer. Yeah, nice bunch from there.
Yeah, and also another Karoo breeder, Dave Southey, and he's a member of the breeding fraternity who's very well respected, breeds very strong horses, and he's been standing lateral at the farm there on behalf of Main Chance for quite a while to get him to the Karoo to possibly get more support. So he brings a couple here to the sale again. Lot 159 out of Set for Summer looks like you know, a nice proposition to look at on paper, but good workman like sires. Main Aim, still very early days for him, but another Karoo farm that's definitely worth looking at.
And another Moy River farm is Spring Valley Stud. You have 15 going.
Yeah, Bruce LaRue runs a very professional operation, and we always see very good horses bred from the farm. They've got quite a big draft here, and I like the look of lot 57 on paper. He's by Curveball, who's been having a couple of winners in the last couple of months, but it's an exceptionally good female line. It's not something that you see very often in South Africa. If we go down to the third dam, it's the mother of Urban Sea, who obviously produced Galileo and See the Stars, who are of the best stallions in the world at the moment. And he's produced this mare, Mudraj, has produced a 7-time winner by Stronghold and a 3-time winner by Just as well. So a pedigree like that, you never know when it's going to kick in. Definitely a horse worth looking at.
And Stonehill Stud, only 5, but 5 top stallions.
Yeah, Stonehill Stud is a name that the racing fraternity will be used to seeing in the race card. Heinrich Rix has owned horses for quite a while with the view of starting a breeding operation, which now obviously with fillies that that are coming off the racetrack, he's now breeding with. But a lot of horses run in I think it's emerald green with a black diamond. You see them with Lucky Hoodalakis and a few other trainers. He's gone to some good stallions as well. We see Duke of Marmalade and obviously Twice Over represented here again, a filly by Twice Over. So 5 horses. It's a stud farm you'll see a lot more of in the sales coming forward. But a 5-horse draft definitely worth looking at.
And Summerhill, always big at the sales. They've got 33. Quite a few Brave Tin Soldiers, I see.
Yeah, a lot of Brave Tin Soldiers. Obviously, he sired the Alan Robertson Group 1 winner in the form of Brave Mary, who was his second Group 1 winner after Rabada. So he's a stallion who throws horses, nice bread and butter horses, but with the potential to throw a Group 1 winner, which is very important for people that aren't buying at the top end of the market. So there's a golden sword sister to, out of the mare Winter Dimension, Winter Star. She won the first running of the Ready to Run for Janse van Vuren. Sorry, not the first running, but his first big race winner. Glenn Hatt rode her that day. Very talented filly. And then a nice update for lot 346. It's a full sister to horse that we race in partnership at Green Street with Bram van Heesteen and Lawrence Vernaas, called One Dimension, and she won her maiden only a second run the other day at Greyville. It looks like a filly that's on the up, got very good reports from the rider, and the stable rates her. So I think that's a nice update for that colt, and his name is Romanus. I'll definitely be going to have a look at him, see if he resembles the sister in any way. But a nice bunch of female lines with good stallions that are doing the job. That's what you expect from Summerhill. Big draft, but it'll be worth taking the time to look at them.
Some of you stud, just the 2, and I know you quite like Curveball. You've mentioned a few Curveballs today.
Yeah, Curveball, he's been having a few winners, and they're horses that you can buy cheap. So we've got another Culture and an Irish Flame filly who we touched on as well. Irish Flame's best performer to date would be that filly Just My Style, who ran a couple lengths off them in the Group 1 Tequini fillies at the end of the season. So yeah, he's a stallion, still very early days, obviously. Another son of Dynasty that's gone to stud, but they'll be improving as 3-year-olds.
Vastfontein stud, Carl de Vos, always sends out a good draft, and he's got 22.
Yeah, Vastfontein, I think they topped the charts in terms of stakes winners to runners, with a phenomenal percentage of around 10 or 11%, and they got recognised for that as outstanding breeders at the Cape Awards we've just held. Every single time you go to a Vastfontein stud draft, you're taken aback with the quality of horse. They've got Gimme the Green Light, they've got Judpot. Their stallions are doing the business at the highest level, and they've got some of the best female lines in the book. And I particularly liked the look of lot 53, who's by Judpot, who's a stallion that I think is good value for money. Out of the young Polly, Along Came Polly line, a lot of these fillies out of this female line have been going to Judpot to try and reproduce the Along Came Polly Nick again, and there's been a lot of nice specimens in the last year or so. It'll be interesting to see how they go on the race course. And then there's a son of Silvano as well, a lot 66, who looks like a horse who might be right at the top of the market when it comes to prices, obviously depending on his specimen. He's a brother to La Riviere, who looks like a talented daughter of VAR, but from one of the better families in the stud book. Promise from My Heart being the second dam, obviously Master of My Fate, Captain Splendid, Covenant, all in there. Phenomenal pedigree, and there's so many. Well, you could basically read through every horse on the draft and have something very positive to say about the families. So definitely a farm that will be pulling their horses in and out on regular occurrence for the buyers.
That's it. It's definitely a difficult catalogue. There's just too many good horses and good pedigrees. Waterford stud, they're sending out 5. They've got a Philanthropist, Seventh Rock, Bold Silvano, and King of Kings.
Yeah, that's right. The Philanthropist, I think, looks like the standout on paper. Lot 129, named Kashmir Mist. Out of that National Assembly mare Relentless, it comes from the same family as Captain in Command and Canadian Sunset. It's a good female line with black type in all the dams, and we know Philanthropist is capable of throwing a very good horse. We've seen Singapore Sling now exported, and the good grey filly, she's a giver as well. So he's not short of good performers, and with a female line like that, it's definitely a horse that's worth considering.
Wicklow Stud have quite a nice selection, 10 going, and some, again, nicely bred horses.
Yeah, very good breeder, Rennie Price. He's obviously holds a position quite high up in the TBA. And I like a couple of these fillies that he's bringing to the sale. Lot 199 looks like a standout on paper. A nice twice over filly again out of a Rakeen mare. Old Lummerscroll family, Red Ray, Set of Fire, Brutal Force, that whole bunch again. Very, very good female line. And twice over, interesting mating for that pedigree. So she'll be a very interesting horse to look at for breeders. And Tavita has already produced Danza, who is a bit better than he looks like on the pedigree page. He hasn't got black type or anything yet, but a very decent horse, and he's got a bit of ability. And then very early in the sale, he's got a Mumbo and Seattle filly out of La Diablisse, who's a stakes winner from a very good family as well. So those are two fillies that I've earmarked.
And Wilgerbosdrift, they've always got horses to get excited about, and they've got some good mares. Yeah,
absolutely. What a farm. Obviously, with Maritzfontein, there's a lot of the same female lines we see cropping up. But they breed exceptional horses, and it's definitely not going to stop now. You just need to page through the draft and see the females that they've got breeding for them. 124 is a perfect example of that. Quickwood, she's produced Nightingale and Oriental Oak, who are daughters of Silvano. This is obviously the half-sister by VAR, so it could be a little bit of speed injected into that mating. And it doesn't stop there. They've got another filly by Ideal World, who's a sister to Wagner out of Cosmo List, and the exported NASA, who now runs in Hong Kong after running third in the SA Guineas. A Byword filly. I'm very excited to see how these Bywords come out and run. Out of Cyber Cento, who's a producer, so getting some very good mares now that it's been relocated to Maritzfontein. And there's a Silvano colt out of Headstrong, who's a very good performer as well, and an Ideal World colt called Maldives, very well named, out of Ila Grande. So another fantastic female line, and they're just all over the page if you look at their draft. Fantastic female lines, and they obviously go to good stallions as well, and that's why they produce so many champions.
And the last of the vendors is Winterback Stud. And I've always been quite impressed with what he turns out. He's turned out some pretty good horses at the sales. Yeah,
in the last couple of years, they definitely a farm. When you go and look at their horses, they're very well prepared, and they've been selling very well. They've been getting good money for their horses, and rightfully so. They always stick to using pretty commercial stallions, which is always a recipe for selling well. Lot 67 is a full brother to Gothic, who ran a place in the SA Derby. The mare Mysterious Land is a multiple producer. She produced Lothlorien as well. And doesn't stop there, because they've got another Judpot colt, Lot 171 out of Silver Jet, who I think is definitely a horse worth looking at. And as you touched on, a farm definitely on the up and producing very smart horses. They get sales results in the ring due to that fact, and I'm pretty sure in the next couple of months, 2 years, we'll see a lot of very good race-performed horses bred by Winterbach.
Now, as I said earlier, I've spoken to some of the trainers, and they're really, really excited about getting there on Tuesday. I think the horses will be ready to be viewed. Really excited. As I said, it's a good buyer's market, top pedigrees, proven stallions, really exciting. Now, what does it hold for Green Street Bloodstock? Are you going to put some syndicates together, be buying there, be busy?
Yeah, that's the intention at all sales. So yeah, we'll be there. I'll be doing my usual looking at all the horses and getting a few buyers together. So we'll be active and hopefully add to our tally of 2-year-olds that we've got. And we've done pretty well at this sale. So we've got a horse running in the sales race on the weekend that we bought from here last year at a very good price. And hopefully we'll be able to find some quality individuals.
Well, you're going in, you certainly have done your homework, so you'll have half an idea before you even get there.
Absolutely.
But it's a really impressive catalogue, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very strong. I didn't know what to expect when I first got it, and then pleasantly surprised looking over the draft and seeing some very good female lines. So now we'll go see those specimens, and I'm sure the sale will go very, very well.
It actually hits you how so many breeders can have such top stallions and top breeding in their yard. I mean, it's quite phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Justin, thank you very much for taking the time to chat to Breeding to Win today and go through the catalogue in such depth. We wish Green Street Bloodstock all the best at the sale, and I hope you buy well. And thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Well, that's it from here at Vasco da Gama. We're looking forward to the sale. It's a top catalogue. We've been through them all. We're giving you a bit of an idea what to look out for next week. Be there at the sale. It's a buyer's market. Get yourself a top horse next week.
gets in. Carry On Alice breaks their hearts again.
Pulling clear in the closing stages. Smart Call wins the Jambi Mid. And Smart Call comes home to win it in the main Johns Farms Paddock Stakes.